Afternoon, Dwayne here, Dry Creek Wrangler School. Got back late last night from the big 3-day ride up in Taylor Park, and boss sent me out today. We got some of the neighbors' cows been getting over into our pasture, so he said go see if you can find where the fence is down and fix it. So we're out here. Mama's with me, and we brought the four-wheeler, come out here today and to fix fence. And I thought, you know what, we'll just go ahead and make a video today on Fixin Fence. And now we're not doing a video on building a new fence, but there's some tips here, and so maybe you'll never be fixing fence, but you're interested in this kind of lifestyle. And there's parts of it. This is a major part of it that you won't ever see really on TV. Or if you're wanting to go in lifestyle, you should know how to fix a fence. You might just get hired on, and the boss may say, hey, you need to go fix that fence over there. And instead of just looking blank-eyed, you can say, yep, I know how to do that. I watched a video on YouTube. Okay, so here we are. We come over here, and I've got 5 strands of barbed wire over here between us and the neighbors, and 2 of these strands are broken. So I'm gonna fix these right here. Now you're gonna need a fence stretcher. Okay, so I got my fence stretcher. Being eaten by that post right there. Good pair of fencing pliers. So I've got twisted wire. So it's just like barbed wire. If you look at the barbed wire, it's twisted, but it has barbs in the middle. This is twisted. This is the exact same thing, but there's no barbs. Okay, so this is what I use for splicing, and I've got a thinner wire for tying to the post when I'm done. You say, if it's wooden post, why aren't you using staples? Well, there are staples in that one, but these really old posts, you got one of 2 things. Either it's so old, it's like driving staples into wrought iron, and they just bend over, or it's so old the staples won't hold. It just splits between the grain and it doesn't hold. So sometimes you got to use wire. All right. So we're going to do some repairs. Now, couple of things to be aware of. I need to make sure I got my top strand. It's loose from all the way down there. Now we are just repairing. We are not building new fence. We're just repairing what's here. And a couple of things when you're repairing an old fence. This fence is very old. So this barbed wire, obviously, I'm gonna cut this off. Okay. This former splice did not hold. I don't think it's the fault of whoever spliced it. I think it's just because it's rusty, but it's easier sometimes to start clean. Okay, I'm gonna cut that off. When you're repairing really old rusted fence, I'm gonna take the old wire out so a horse or something doesn't get tangled up in it later. You don't want to get too vigorous with your stretching and your tightening, because it's just going to bust someplace else. And I'm not out here to build new fence. I'm just out here to get it up so the cows from the other side quit coming over. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this side, all right, and I'm going to fold it back like that, make a loop in it. I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to hold it, because my hands aren't as strong as they used to be. And then I'm going to start wrapping coils in it, just like this, all right? Wrap my coils in it, and I'm gonna wrap my coils close. I'll show you that here in a minute a little better. I'm gonna just get that up there out of the way. Here's my other one right here, stapled to this post, and it's been spliced before. Now what I'm gonna do, I don't know what I'm gonna do. What am I gonna do? Tell you what I'm gonna do. I hate to splice to a splice. These are things you always run into when you're fixing old fence. It goes to that T-post. Well, I just got to work with what I got. I'm going to come in here, I'm going to pull this staple out. I'm going to set it up there so I can use it back again. And I'm going to cut this junk here off. I'm gonna come in here just like I did the other side, but I'm gonna do a little bit more here. Okay? And I'm gonna make me a loop, and I'm gonna start wrapping my coils. Now, if you notice, I'm wrapping my coils tied against each other. I'm not just running it out through here. If you wrap your coils tight, then when the fence is pulled, the coils pull against each other. They'll tighten down against each other, and it'll stay tighter. If you just loosely wrap it around through there, then it's going to pull loose. They won't hold each other, okay? So, got my coils. You don't want to get too vigorous with this, like I said, because you don't want to be busting the old wire. Now I'm going to set that right there, and I'm going to get my wire that I use to splice. I'm going to come in here on this one. Now this is not, if I was like a lot of guys on YouTube, I would find me a fence somewhere that would have brand new wire, and then I'd cut it, and then I'd splice it so everything was shiny and pretty and neat and tight, and it'd make me look really good. But folks, this is just reality. This is just the real deal. Old post, rusty wire. Nobody wants to spend any money. Ain't got time to rebuild the fence. You just got to come out and do what you can with what you got, and this is just what it is. All right? And one thing I didn't think about when I was younger about getting older is my hands they're just not as strong as they used to be. But we wrap our coils in tight right here. And I'm going to come back here to this other one. Now we're a bit further away than you would often be, but this was a splice and a splice and a splice. So I'm going to come back here past my loop, and I'm going to cut it off so I got enough to work with. All right? I'm going to come in here and make me another loop. Now, if you're the type of person you work and you look at this and you might say, Dwayne, if you was to make that loop a little bit bigger, use a little bit more wire, you'd have more to work with there. I would, but I have a lot of fence to do, and I've only got the wire that I can haul on the four-wheeler. So I'm not using a whole lot of extra wire because I don't want to have to go all the way back to the barn just to get more wire. There's a concert in town tonight in Monte Vista. Ned Ledoux, Chris Ledoux's son. Mama wants me to take her. So I'm going to try to get this done so I can take Mama to go see Ned Ledoux. And if I got to keep running back to the barn, that's going to defeat that purpose. All right. So I've got that in there. Now we got a stretcher. Okay, here's your fence stretcher. Run that all the way out full length. And this, if you look here, that's like a cam lock, okay? So you put your fence in there. You come up here close to the end. Then we lock that cam down. And the way that's angled in there with teeth, the tighter you pull it, it actually locks down on that more and more. All right, is this my top strand? There's my top strand. So I got a cam on this side. Well, I didn't need to put a loop in that. I still, after all these videos, I ain't used to this video stuff, and I get to talking on the video, and I lose my mind and forget what I'm doing. Because it's hard for me to concentrate on 2 or 3 things at one time. Ah, you rascal. All right, so we lock that cam down. And then we just start stretching the fence. Now, like I said, I'm not going to stretch it as tight as I would if I was building a new fence, because I don't want this barbed wire breaking and creating more unnecessary work. That's plenty tight right there. I'm going to cut this old loop off. I'm going to slide this in here. And do my coils. One of these days this fence is going to have to be replaced. But until then, we're just going to try to keep the neighbor's heifers out of the pasture. So we run our coils in tight. There it is. And we loosen our cam. And there you go. So now we take our little wire. If I can find my little wire. I know I pulled it out and showed you. Mama, what'd I do with my little wire? Well, there it is. So this is actually baling wire is what this is. So if you're not in a good staple situation, you just come around the post and pull it in tight against the post. Now if you're building your own fence at home, say for horses, let's talk about that because this channel gears strong to horses. 2 or 3 things. Number one, if we're building fence and your horses are on this side, here's your post, your horses are on this side, have the wire on the inside. If you've got horses over here, have the wire on this side of the post. If you've got horses over here, have the wire on this side of the post. That way when horses are stretching through to get grass, they're leaning on it, whatever, it holds against the post. If you have it on the other side, they lean against it. If you got stables, if you got this little wire, they pop it off, okay? So your wire goes on the inside, the side of the livestock. Whether you've got T-post, wooden post, whatever you got. Now, a little side note here, we'll take a second. When I'm building fence for horses, myself, I don't use barbed wire. This is for cattle, it's all, but there are horses out here. We got the ranch studs out here with some brood mares and stuff. If you have barbed wire, I'm not saying it's wrong or inferior in any way. It's just myself, I don't prefer it. Especially working with young horses, I've had some horses get tore up pretty bad with barbed wire. So what I do is, I build a fence out of this woven wire, this smooth woven wire, okay, at least 4 strands, and then I'll buy those insulators that stick out from the post, about 4 to 6 inches, and right in the middle, all the way around, I'll run 1 strand of hot wire. Now, I do not use, when I say hot wire, I do not use wire, and I mean they make a wire, they make a thin little woven rope with the wire through it. They make tape of varying widths, and then they make a rope that carries electricity that's thicker. I prefer the thicker rope. That's what I prefer to use, because it's, in my experience, if a horse gets into it or something gets into it, they're not as likely to get hurt. 1 strand of hot wire to me is chancy for a fence. It's just kind of, but the horses will lean against this woven wire trying to get grass on the other side of the fence, and then they'll just wind up wrecking your fence. So a combination for me, without using barbed wire, is I'll use 4 good strands of this, then I'll use 1 strand of hot wire just to keep them off of it, and that seems to work pretty good. But you know, you do whatever works for you, and that's but one thing I do not recommend you use for horses is a woven wire, like that 4x4 woven wire like they might use for sheep or something. Don't recommend that. Horses are social creatures, and they tend to stand along a fence, especially if there's a critter on the other side. and they'll stand there with their head down, swishing and stomping at flies, and they've been known to stomp a foot through that woven wire, and it goes in a whole lot easier than it comes out. Okay, and so think twice about using the woven wire like for goats, what you'd use for your goats or something with horses. Just a suggestion. Okay, so anyhow, this is Dwayne. I hope it helped you. At least I hope it was interesting. And if you like it, if you'll give a thumbs up, if you haven't subscribed, do that for me. Hit the subscription, and if you got something to do, a work to do, just be logical, be reasonable, be safe, and have fun. And you say, Dwayne, how do you have fun out fencing? I brought Mama with me. We'll talk to you guys later.